Today, I want to tell you about my crazy Hurricane Ian story. I want to tell you about some Etsy changes that are applicable to you and much more on this episode of Seller News. Let's go. Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to this edition of Etsy Seller News, where I bring you guys the latest and greatest news updates and just general things that are applicable to you as a seller in the e-commerce world, in the e-commerce space, to help you out with your business and continue down the path of being successful, knowing what's going on, and staying in tune with all of the changes and different things that are coming out on sometimes a daily basis with Etsy and other platforms out there. So it's been a little bit since I've had one of these episodes or a regular podcast episode because I have been dealing with just like many people, Hurricane Ian issues, and my story is a little crazy. I wanted to kind of tell you guys what is going on with me and the storm, which has been very scary. First of all, I want to say that I'm very fortunate. There are people that are 90 miles south of us that have been impacted severely. Fort Myers, Arcadia, places like that have been totally destroyed and flooded because of Ian. So I am thankful that we made it out unscathed. I'm a little scarred, which I'm going to talk about, but we made it out unscathed. But those people still need help. So if you guys can help out in any way, by donations or donating food and water, probably the best place to donate, or one of the best places to donate, is redcross.org. You guys can send in $1, $5, $75, whatever you can to help out those families that have been impacted by Ian, because some of their houses are wiped out, which I'm sure you guys have seen. So many of you guys know, maybe you don't know, but I sold my house earlier this year, moved into a travel trailer, an RV, while my new house is being built. Well, as it turns out, my travel trailer, my location, I'm in the Tampa Bay area, was supposed to be, or was in the path of Ian. And originally it wasn't supposed to be. Originally it was supposed to stay out west. It was supposed to hit the Panhandle. And I've had a cruise planned for a couple of months. So I was supposed to go on a cruise with some friends, and we were closely monitoring the storm. And we decided to go on the cruise because Ian was supposed to hit the Panhandle. And the cruise was several days before Ian was even supposed to get close to us. So we decided to go on this cruise, which was out of Cape Canaveral. So I packed up or put together the travel trailer, put in the slides, and made sure everything was secure just in case that the storm changed track, which sometimes it does, but I felt pretty confident that it wasn't going to. Well, we left for the cruise, and it turns out they changed the path directly to the Tampa Bay area. That the storm was supposed to come in at a Category 3 or Category 4, directly into the eye of the eye was supposed to come in directly to where my travel trailer was. So I was like, oh. So not only is my travel trailer going to be destroyed, my new house that I'm building is probably going to be destroyed as well. And I'm off on a cruise somewhere, and there's nothing I could do about it. So that was very unnerving, very, very scary. As it turns out, they changed at the last moment. It changed the path further south. So fortunately for me, unfortunately for the Fort Myers people, it hit Fort Myers. It did not do a direct hit on where my travel trailer was, thankfully. There was some other RVs that had damage, some windows blown out and things like that. Mine was unscathed, thankfully. There was nothing wrong with it. It was not damaged. So that was good. My new house had some shingles. They just put a new roof on it. There was some shingles missing. So that was the only thing with the new house that was wrong. So not pretty unscathed. I'm pretty fortunate. But as it turns out, we were going to the Bahamas in the cruise. The hurricane came up right up through the state and right up through Port Canaveral, which caused them to shut down the port. So literally, I was stuck on a cruise ship. We could not return to port, nor could we port anywhere else. There was 2 other places that we were supposed to stop while we were out on the cruise that we could not stop because the water was too rough. It was not safe for us to port or to stop. at these other ports that were out there. So we were stuck on the cruise for an extra day and a half. And the bad thing about that was we literally couldn't get off the cruise for 4 whole days. So we were stuck on the cruise. In sometimes rough water. There was one night where it felt like I was on Deadliest Catch. It was literally I could hear the waves crashing into the bow in the middle of the night. It was super terrifying. I've never been that scared before in my life. I thought we were gonna sink. It was extremely scary. So, rule of thumb is if there's a hurricane gonna come anywhere close, don't take the cruise. Probably not the best decision that I've ever made in my life. But we got back a day and a half late. Everything was fine. The cruise was good for the most part. I was still worried about back home and the damage and things like that. But like I said, everything was pretty smooth. It turned out all right. It was a little terrifying, very nerve-wracking, hard to relax when you have a Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane coming towards your home and where you're living. And I have family in the area. They were watching our dogs, so we were worried about them. So there's a lot of things going on, and it was a very scary time. Hopefully, that is the last hurricane this season or ever that I have to worry about, because that's one thing. Florida is beautiful. It is warm year round, but hurricanes are extremely scary. And this one was pretty huge. I was here through Irma. That was scary. That was almost a direct hit. But it moved at the last moment. I think that one moved south, or that moved north, I think, at the last minute. So that's the scary part, is they have the track you think pinned down, and at the last moment it moves north or south. And if you get a direct hit, if you're 10 miles within the eye of the storm, that's where the highest wind gusts, highest sustained wind is, and it just completely destroys your stuff. Not only that storm surge is terrible. That's probably the worst part, is it throws all that water, 10, 15 feet of water inland, and just floods everything. So very crazy. But that is my Hurricane Ian story. And then I get back, right, and you can maybe be able to hear it. I got like a sinus thing going on. I'm half sick. So yeah, a lot of things going on. But again, I'm very fortunate. Very minimal stuff compared to what other people are dealing with. But if you guys can help out by going to Red Cross, that would be awesome. My fellow Floridians need your help. So that would be totally cool, just to give a few bucks here and there to help those families out in the relief efforts. Another thing that's kind of newsworthy related to Ian is you may see some USPS delays, especially in Florida. Maybe you see some missing packages. So work through USPS, file some claims, but definitely expect some delays if you're anywhere near the area in Florida where the hurricane came through. I mean, it pretty much the hurricane was so huge that it impacted almost the entire state of Florida. With the bands and the wind and all that stuff, most of Florida felt the impacts. I mean, this storm was enormous. It covered the entire state practically. So you may still see some delays for a while when it comes to Florida. So just be patient. File claims through USPS if you need to. But that's something that you're definitely probably going to see. All right, the next thing I wanted to cover as far as newsworthy stuff when it comes to Etsy is they recently added an update to listings where for your Etsy listings that you could specify returns on certain listings. Like you could do a return policy where maybe there's some listings where you want to accept returns, other listings you don't want to accept returns, depending on what, maybe it's a completely different type of product, completely different type of listing. So you can specify that within each listing. Now you can set whether you want to accept returns or a specific return policy. So it doesn't have to be a blanket across the board policy like before. You can change it and mix and match your return policy for specific listings. So this can come in handy. Maybe there's some custom products or one-of-a-kind products that you don't want to accept returns on because they're custom and you're gonna be doing them specifically for the customer. So if they return them, there's nothing you can do with it because it's customized. So different things like that, depending on what you're selling, may come in handy. So you'll see that if you log into your listings, you'll see that towards the bottom of your listings. The other update is they added sustainability attributes for your listings, so you can put specific sustainability attributes depending on what category your listings fall into. These may be different, but for instance, with like clothing and shirts, you can select whether it's hemp, linen, organic cotton, recycled polyester. So different attributes to explain the sustainability of what you're selling. Some people, that's really important to them. Whether your product's sustainable, you're using recycled materials, you're saving the environment. So, and some niches are and brands are specifically evolve around sustainability, with using organic products, using recycled products. So this is just another way to be able to showcase that within your listings under the attributes section. And since it's an attribute, you can search for it, which is another nice thing. So if a customer wants to go in and search for something that's one of these sustainability attributes, maybe they're searching for organic cotton or recycled polyester, they can search for and filter out products based on these attributes. So that's another thing that is that's good if you're having these sustainability attributes in your listings. And just like I said, keep in mind these will change depending on what category your products are in, so they're not going to be the same for everybody. So just like any other category, any other attributes, they change and they vary depending on what you're selling and what's going to be available in there for the particular attributes. But this could definitely come in handy, especially if your niche is focused on sustainability, recycled materials, different attributes like that. All right, and that brings us to the next pretty big newsworthy thing that I wanted to talk about is Poshmark was recently or is being bought, announced that they're being bought by a South Korean e-commerce company called Naver. I think it's NAVR. I'm not sure. I guess you pronounce it Naver. So they're being bought for 1.2 million. Naver is actually they're home to the largest number of bloggers, digital creators, and comics globally. I had to look this up. I never heard of the company before, so I was wondering kind of what they do, what they're all about, and how is this, what does this mean for Poshmark, and what does this mean for the rest of platforms out there? Any big purchases like this are relevant and can be relevant to other e-commerce platforms out there. So that's why I think it's important to bring it to you guys. And I know some of you sell on Poshmark. I sell on Poshmark. There's a lot of Etsy sellers that sell on Poshmark. It may not be their bread and butter, but it's just another sales channel to make some extra revenue. So Naver has 36 million monthly users, which they are trying to leverage along with the Poshmark user database to further grow the company. So it's their thought that they're combining these, bloggers, and makes sense with the fashion space. So I think that's why they're one of the reasons why they're purchasing Poshmark is a big fashion space, and there's a lot of fashion bloggers out there. So they're trying to leverage it that way. They're also trying to leverage live shopping potential by integrating Naver with Poshmark. And live shopping is becoming super, super popular. There's apps specifically that do live shopping, such as Whatnot. There's other integrations. I know like YouTube's integrating with Shopify to do some live shopping. So it's becoming really, really popular. So this is something that could be applicable to Etsy. Are they going to introduce live shopping? I know they already introduced Explore, which is kind of like Reels, for Etsy to showcase Etsy sellers. So are they going to introduce some type of live shopping plan or feature? Are they going to buy up another company that helps them do this? The other thing that they're going to introduce with Poshmark, and Naver is going to introduce their ads platform, and you're probably going to see a lot more ads on Poshmark, which for the user experience may not be good. From a revenue experience may be good as well. So this is something too in the future is, could these e-commerce platforms, could Etsy introduce ads as well outside of what they're already doing for Etsy sellers? Could they do ads for other companies and things like that? I'm not sure how Naver is going to do that with Poshmark, so that's going to be interesting as well, because it could be good or bad depending on how they do it and how they introduce it. It could make it less user friendly for sure. So these things are always relevant. These purchases and these partnerships create ripples for the e-commerce platforms out there, because you better believe eBay's paying attention, Amazon's paying attention, Etsy's paying attention to these partnerships. They want to compete and they want to evolve. Etsy wants to evolve. So will this entice or basically push Etsy to make further changes with their platform, as they've been continuously doing? Love it or hate it, they're going to continue to make changes. They're going to continue to evolve. They're going to continue to try and stay on top of the e-commerce platform within their space. Etsy is a big, major player in the e-commerce world, so they're going to try and stay as a major player. So this is why I think it's very relevant to us as Etsy sellers to kind of see and pay attention to what's going on with these other platforms and see how it's going to affect things that Etsy does in the future and decisions that Etsy makes in the future. So that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys, because I think it is very relevant, especially if you're selling on Etsy, more so if you're selling on Poshmark as well. You're going to see some major changes with the platform. But that is all I got for you guys today as far as seller news. You learned a little bit about my Ian journey, how I survived through that. You guys learned about some Etsy enhancements and changes when it comes to listings and the Poshmark purchase as well. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Check out those new features. Use them if they are applicable to you guys. But that is it for today. I'll be back soon with another great episode for you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day and weekend.